I'm not quite sure if I'm really ready to talk about Pir Vilayat Inayat Khan, who was my teacher from, I guess, 1968 until he died in 2004. Many people have spiritual teachers and they're with them for a year, 5 years, if you're lucky, maybe a decade. But I was with him for most of my life. And it was quite a remarkable experience. I had the opportunity to travel with him both in Europe and America, ultimately in Asia, India. And I watched him I saw how he was able to take the vastness of the divine intelligence and distill that, not just with his words, which were quite remarkable and quite beautiful, but with his presence, distill it, condense it, give it out, and have it be deeply absorbed. I remember so well coming out of seminar after seminar, people saying, I don't really remember what was said, but the atmosphere really changed me. I feel so different. And he had the ability to erupt in an almost childlike joy that was quite infectious. His laugh was like someone physically tickling you. And here he was, this world teacher, the head of the Sufi order and the one who carried on so clearly the message of his father, the great Sufi Hazrat Inayat Khan. And yet, there were moments in his humanness when he would speak about the bowl of ice cream he was going to have at the end of the day, that conveyed somehow the joy of God in the small pleasures that human beings get to experience. I remember a story he used to tell quite often. When he was a very young man, actually maybe a teenager or perhaps in his 20s, he was learning to climb mountains and cliffs. He loved mountains. And he told this story about climbing up a cliff with his teacher, someone teaching him mountaineering and climbing. And it was a very, very difficult climb. And he was halfway up the cliff. He couldn't go down to the bottom. He needed to go up. and he couldn't find the correct place to place his hands and his toes. There was no place for the whole of the foot. And he finally, through the guidance of his teacher, found a spot where he could be comfortable, so to speak, if you can be comfortable in that situation. And it was a place to rest for a moment and then move on. And he moved one hand. He moved and he moved, and he finally found a little place where he could put a finger. And then he was stuck. There was no place to move his foot or his other hand. And his teacher said, "Now you must let go with your right foot." And Pir Vilayat said he had no idea if he was just going to go careening off the cliff. But the teacher said, "Just do it. Try it." And he did it, and he said, as if from nowhere, there was one little toehold that he hadn't seen. And he was able to then move forward and scale the rest of the cliff. I do believe that Pir Vilayat always asked us, at that critical point, let go of that secure foot. Let go. See what happens.